Every empire that ever rose began with a voice. Every revolution that ever shook the earth started with a sentence. Every child that ever believed in themselves did so because somebody, a parent, a teacher, a stranger, looked them in the eyes and said the right words at the right time. Words, not money, not muscle, not machines. Words built this world. And tonight, I want to talk to you about the most powerful instrument you will ever carry, and it is sitting right behind your teeth. Your tongue, your voice, your ability to arrange 26 letters into combinations that can make a grown man weep, make a failing business rise, make a broken marriage heal, make a lost teenager find direction. That is not a small thing, friends. That is an extraordinary thing. And most people, I mean the vast majority of people walking this earth, have absolutely no idea how much power they are carrying around in their mouth every single day. Think about it for a moment. You can walk into a room and with one sentence destroy somebody's confidence for a decade. Or you can walk into that same room and with one sentence give somebody the courage to change their entire life. Same room, same moment, same tongue. The only difference is the words you choose. And that choice, that tiny split-second decision of which words to release into the air, that is what separates the influential from the invisible, the leaders from the followers, the ones who change the world from the ones who merely watch it spin. Now, I have spent a lifetime studying this, studying great communicators, studying what makes one person's words land like thunder, while another person says the same thing and it falls flat like a stone in mud. And I have found that it comes down to a handful of keys. Not 100, not 50, a handful. Just a few fundamental principles that, if you will master them, will transform not just how you speak, but how you live. Because here is the secret nobody tells you. When you master your words, you master your life. The two are inseparable. They are married. Where one goes, the other follows. So here are the keys. And I want you to pay close attention because these are not theories. These are tools. And tools only work if you pick them up and use them. The first key, have something worth saying. Before you worry about how to say it, you had better first make sure you have something worth saying, because the world is drowning in words. Drowning. We have more words flying around today than at any point in human history. Social media, television, podcasts, emails, text messages, words everywhere. But most of them are empty. Most of them are filler. Most of them are noise disguised as communication. And noise does not change lives. Signal changes lives. Substance changes lives. Truth delivered with clarity and conviction that changes lives. So how do you develop something worth saying? I will give you the answer, and it is not complicated. You live with intention and you pay attention. Those are the two ingredients. Live with intention and pay attention, because life is constantly teaching. Every single day, life is running a classroom, and you are either taking notes or you are sleeping through the lecture. Your failures, they have something to say. Your successes, they have something to say. That argument you had with your spouse last month that almost ended everything, but then somehow brought you closer together, that has something to say. That business deal that fell apart and taught you more than any deal that ever closed, that has something to say. The question is, did you capture it? Did you write it down? Did you commit it to paper so that when the moment comes, and the moment always comes, you can reach into your vault and pull out exactly the right lesson for exactly the right person at exactly the right time? I have always said, keep a journal. Not a diary, a journal. A diary says, here is what happened to me. A journal says, here is what I learned from what happened to me. There is a massive difference. One is a record of events. The other is a record of growth. And growth is what gives you something powerful to communicate. Now, here is what I have observed about the best communicators I have ever met. None of them, not a single one, relied on their memory alone. They were all collectors. Collectors of stories, collectors of lessons, collectors of phrases that struck them in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of the night. They wrote things down on napkins, on receipts, on the backs of business cards. They treated every insight like a gold coin, and they deposited it into their personal vault. And over time, that vault became so rich, so full, so overflowing with wisdom and experience that every time they opened their mouth, treasure came out. That is the goal. Not to speak more, to speak with more substance, because one sentence loaded with truth and experience will always outweigh an hour of empty chatter. Always. The second key, preparation is the price of excellence. Now, having something good to say is the foundation, but saying it well, that requires preparation. And I want to talk about this because it is the part most people skip. They think communication is something you just do. You just open your mouth and whatever comes out is what comes out. And that is exactly why most people communicate at such a low level. They wing it. And winging it might get you through a Tuesday staff meeting, but it will never build an empire. It will never inspire a generation. It will never change the trajectory of a human life. Preparation. The great ones always prepare. Always. You think the great speakers of history just walked up and started talking? You think the words that moved nations were improvised? No. They were crafted. They were shaped. They were tested and refined and polished until every single word earned its place in the sentence. That is the level of respect the great ones had for language. They treated words like a sculptor treats marble with precision, with care, with the understanding that every chip of the chisel matters. Now, preparation is not just about communication. Preparation is about life. Think about it. Your entire existence has been one long preparation. Grade school preparing you for high school. High school preparing you for college. College preparing you for a career. Your first job preparing you for your second job. Your second marriage, well, let us hope you learned something from the first one, right? Life is preparation, layer upon layer upon layer, and sometimes it feels endless. I understand that. After grade 1, you have to go to grade 2. After grade 2, grade 3. And the child inside you screams, when does it end? When am I finally ready? And here is the honest answer. You are never fully ready. You just become more prepared. And the more prepared you are, the more powerful your words become. Because preparation gives you confidence. And confidence gives you authority. And authority gives you influence. And influence, well, influence is the whole game, is it not? Now, I want to share an observation from nature because nature teaches us everything if we bother to look. Have you ever watched an eagle hunt? Most birds dive and grab, quick, impulsive. Sometimes they get the fish, sometimes they do not. But the eagle does something different. The eagle circles quietly, patiently. It studies the water from above. It watches the patterns of the fish below. It calculates the wind, the angle, the speed. And then only when everything is aligned, it dives. One strike, one clean, devastating strike, and it rarely misses. That is what preparation does for your communication. It turns you from a sparrow snapping at whatever floats by into an eagle that strikes with precision and power. Most people are sparrows with their words, snapping, reacting, saying whatever comes to mind without thought or craft. But the ones who prepare, the ones who circle first, who think first, who choose their words before releasing them, they are the eagles. and the eagles always eat. So, how do you prepare to communicate well? I have 4 words for you. Write them down. They are worth more than you might think at first glance. Interest, fascination, sensitivity, knowledge. The first word is interest. Develop an insatiable interest in life and in people. Those are the 2 great subjects, life and people. Everything else is a footnote. Study life in all of its complexity, the good seasons and the bad seasons, the victories and the defeats, the moments of clarity and the moments of total confusion. Study it, because the more you understand about life, the more you have to draw from when you speak. And study people. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. People are the most fascinating, frustrating, unpredictable, irrational, beautiful creatures on this planet. No 2 are the same. You think you have someone figured out, and then they do something that makes you say, I would not have predicted that in a million years. That is the beauty of it. That is what makes studying people a lifelong pursuit that never gets boring. I learned early in my career that the skill that paid me the most money was not sales. It was not marketing. It was not strategy. It was learning how to work with people. Getting people who are all different ages, different backgrounds, different temperaments, different opinions about everything, to somehow move in the same direction. Now, that is a challenge. That is like trying to get a room full of cats to march in a straight line. Have you ever tried to organize cats? Sheep are easy. You get out front, you start walking, the sheep follow. Simple. But cats have their own agenda. Every single one of them. 8 cats, 8 directions. And yet, if you can master the art of leading cats, of communicating with people who are fiercely independent and stubbornly individual, the rewards are beyond anything you can imagine. Now, working with people will surprise you every single day. Every single day. The person you were absolutely certain would stay forever, they leave. And you stand there with your mouth open thinking, how did I not see that coming? And then the person you wrote off completely, the one you thought had 1 foot out the door, they stay. They become your most loyal ally. And you think, I could not have predicted that if you gave me 100 years. That is people. Beautiful, messy, surprising, confounding people. And the better you understand them, not judge them, understand them, the more powerful your communication becomes. Because when you truly understand someone, you know which words will reach them. You know which door to knock on. You know whether they need a push or a hug, a challenge or an encouragement, a hard truth or a gentle nudge. That knowledge, that sensitivity to where someone is, what they are going through, what keeps them up at 3 in the morning, that is what separates the communicators who merely inform from the communicators who truly transform. And that brings me to the second word, fascination. Interest says, I notice you. Fascination says, I cannot stop studying you. Be fascinated with everything. Like a child. Have you watched a child discover something new? A puddle, a ladybug, a shadow on the wall? They do not just glance at it and move on. They get down on their hands and knees. They touch it. They turn it over. They ask 47 questions about it. That is fascination. And somewhere along the way to adulthood, most of us lost it. We became too sophisticated to be fascinated, too busy to be curious, too important to get down on our knees and look closely at the world around us. And that is a tragedy, because fascination is the fuel of great communication. You cannot speak powerfully about things that bore you. You can only speak powerfully about things that fascinate you. The third word is sensitivity, and this one matters more than most people realize. Sensitivity means understanding that not everyone is in the same season you are in. Some people are, in springtime, everything is blooming. Everything is exciting. The whole world feels like possibility. But some people are in winter. things are cold. Things are dark. The ground is hard. Nothing seems to be growing. And if you walk up to someone in winter and start talking to them like they are in spring, your words will not land. They will bounce right off because you did not bother to find out where they were before you started speaking. The great communicators always diagnose before they prescribe, just like a good doctor. A good doctor does not walk into the room and start writing prescriptions before asking questions. A good doctor listens first, examines first, understands first, and then, only then, offers the remedy. Your words are the remedy, but they only heal if they match the wound. And you can only match the wound if you take the time to understand it. I had a mentor early in my life, Mr. Schoaf, and one of the things he taught me was this: before you try to be interesting, try to be interested. Before you try to impress someone with your words, try to understand their world. Because the moment someone feels truly understood, their walls come down, their arms unfold, their ears open. And now your words have a pathway straight to their heart. Without that pathway, you are just talking at a wall. And the fourth word is knowledge. Simply this: never stop learning. Never stop gathering ideas, stories, insights, perspectives, facts, philosophies, frameworks, anything and everything that makes you a more complete thinker and a more effective communicator. Read books, lots of them. Talk to people who are smarter than you. Travel to places that challenge your assumptions. Listen to arguments you disagree with, not to fight them, but to understand them. Because the wider your knowledge, the deeper your well, and the deeper your well, the more water you can draw when someone comes to you thirsty. Now I want to take you somewhere deeper. Because we have talked about the mechanics, having something to say, preparing well, developing interest and fascination and sensitivity and knowledge, those are the tools. But now I want to talk about the purpose. Why does any of this matter? Why should you care about mastering your words? And the answer is this: because your words have the power to create light where there is darkness. And that, my friends, is as close to a divine gift as any human being will ever possess. Think about that for a moment. The ancient texts tell us that in the beginning, when everything was void and formless and dark, the Creator spoke. He did not build, He did not hammer, He did not paint, He spoke. He used words, and from those words, light appeared. Now, I am not comparing us to the Almighty, but I am saying this: if words can create light in the physical universe, then surely our words can create light in the universe of the human mind. And that is exactly what happens when you communicate with power and purpose. Have you ever been lost? I do not mean lost on the highway. I mean lost in life, lost in confusion, lost in self-doubt, lost in a fog so thick that you could not see your own hand in front of your face, let alone the path forward. And then someone came along, maybe a friend, maybe a mentor, maybe a complete stranger, and they started talking. And as they talked, something began to happen. The fog started to thin, the darkness started to lift, shapes started to emerge, and by the time they finished speaking, you could see, not because they gave you new eyes, but because their words, their carefully chosen, experience-forged, truth-soaked words lit up the landscape of your mind. They brought the dawn. That is what powerful communication does. It brings the dawn for people who are stuck in the night. And here's what I find so beautiful about, that you do not need a degree to do it. You do not need a title. You do not need permission from anyone. All you need is a story that is true, words that are chosen with care, and the courage to share them with someone who needs to hear them. I have seen it happen thousands of times. Thousands. Someone walks into a room discouraged, beaten down, ready to quit. ready to throw in the towel on their business, their marriage, their dreams, and then they hear a speech, or they have a conversation, or someone pulls them aside and says exactly what they needed to hear in exactly the way they needed to hear it, and something shifts, something clicks, something ignites. And they walk out of that room a different person, not because anything in their external world changed, but because someone's words rearranged the furniture inside their mind. That is what you can do. That is what your words can do. If, and this is a big if you take the time to develop them. If you treat your ability to communicate not as a casual thing, but as a sacred thing. If you understand that every time you open your mouth, you are either adding light to someone's world or adding darkness. There is no neutral. Every word lands somewhere and does something. Using your words where they matter most. Now, where should you start? Where is the first place you should deploy this incredible weapon of language? I will tell you where. Your home. Start with the people who share your roof. Start with your children. Start with your spouse. Start with the people who matter most, but who, ironically, often receive the worst of our communication. Is that not strange? We will polish our words for a client. We will rehearse our words for a presentation. We will carefully choose our words for a job interview. But when we walk through our own front door, we get lazy. We get careless. We say things we would never say to a coworker. We use a tone we would never use with a customer. And then we wonder why our most important relationships are struggling. If your words can inspire a stranger, imagine what they can do for your own child. Imagine looking at your son or your daughter and deliberately choosing words that plant seeds of confidence, courage, ambition, and self-worth. Not just once, not just on their birthday, every day, consistently, relentlessly, day after day after day, watering those seeds with your language until they grow into beliefs. And those beliefs grow into actions. And those actions grow into a life that exceeds anything you could have built for them with your hands or your money. That is the gift of words within a family. It is the greatest inheritance you can leave. Not property, not stocks, not a business, but a voice inside your child's head that sounds like yours and says, "You can do this. I believe in you. You are capable. You are worthy. Now go show the world what you are made of." That voice, your voice, planted by your words, will carry them through storms you will never even know about. Long after you are gone, your words will still be working, still guiding, still lighting the path. And it is not just children, it is everyone. Your team at work, your friends, the person sitting next to you on an airplane, the cashier at the grocery store who looks like they are carrying the weight of the universe on their shoulders. You have no idea what one kind, well-chosen sentence can do for another human being. No idea. Sometimes the difference between someone giving up and someone pressing on is a single sentence from a single person at a single moment. And you could be that person. You could be the one whose words become the turning point in someone else's story. Now, let me lighten things up a bit, because communication is not all heavy and philosophical. Sometimes you just need a little humor, a little wit, a little cleverness that disarms people and opens doors that seriousness could never open. I have always believed that a well-timed joke can do more than a well-constructed argument. Not always, but sometimes, because humor breaks tension, it lowers defenses. It makes people lean in instead of cross their arms. And in that moment of laughter, in that brief, beautiful moment when someone's guard is down, you can slip in a truth that they would have rejected if you had delivered it with a straight face. When I was early in my career, someone said to me, "Jim, this personal development stuff sounds like a waste of time." And I said, "You are absolutely right." It is a complete waste of time. That is why all the broke people skip it. Now, was that kind? Maybe not entirely, but it made the point. And he laughed, and then he thought about it, and thinking about it was the whole goal. I did not need him to agree with me in that moment. I just needed him to think, and humor opened that door. Here is another thing about dealing with people. You have to learn to handle the difficult ones without letting them steal your energy, because difficult people are everywhere. They are like the weather. You cannot control them. You can only dress appropriately. My mentor used to say something that always made me laugh. He said, Jim, there are only about 10 truly impossible people in the whole world. He said, the problem is they travel a lot. So you are bound to run into one now and then. And when you do, you just smile and say, well, that is one of the 10. Only 9 more to go. I think I will survive. That is the attitude. Do not let the difficult people rob you of your joy or your words. Some people will never appreciate what you have to say. Some people are determined to be miserable no matter how brilliant your communication is. And that is fine. That is their choice. Your job is not to convince everyone. Your job is to speak your truth with excellence and let it land where it lands. Some seeds fall on concrete. That is not the seed's fault. You just keep throwing seeds, because the ones that fall on good soil, those are the ones that change the world. I want to close with something that has stayed with me for many, many years. There is an old piece of wisdom that says, words are like a lamp for your feet, showing you where to step, and a light for your path, showing you where to go. I have thought about that a great deal, and I think it captures 2 different dimensions of what powerful communication can do. A lamp for your feet that is immediate, that is right now, that is helping someone see the very next step they need to take. Not the whole journey, not the 5-year plan, just the next step. Because sometimes that is all someone needs. They are paralyzed, not because they do not have a destination, but because they cannot see where to put their foot next. And you come along and you say, here, step here. This is solid ground. You can trust this. And they take that step. And then they can see the next one. And then the next. One step at a time, guided by your words. And then a light for your path that is bigger, that is direction, that is vision, that is helping someone see not just the next step, but the destination, the possibility, the future that they could not imagine on their own. You paint a picture with your words that is so vivid, so compelling, so real that they start to believe it. And once they believe it, they will find a way to walk toward it. You do not have to carry them. You just have to help them see it. And your words, the right words, delivered with conviction and clarity, can do exactly that. Think about the people who changed the direction of your life. Not all of them did it with money. Not all of them did it with opportunity. Many of them did it with a single conversation. A single speech, a single sentence that hit you so hard it rearranged your priorities and redirected your future. Someone showed you the steps and then showed you the way. And because of their words, you walked a different path than the one you were on. That is the power you hold right now, tonight, in your mouth, in your ability to string together words that carry meaning, weight, truth, and light. Whether it is in a boardroom or a living room, whether it is on a stage or across a kitchen table, whether it is to a crowd of thousands or to one lonely person who just needed someone to say, I see you, I hear you, and here is what I believe is possible for you. That is communication at its highest level. Not information transfer, not data exchange, not clever rhetoric, but light giving. That is what you are when you master your words. You become a giver of light. And in a world that often feels very dark, there is no greater gift you can offer. So here is my challenge to you. Do not leave here tonight and go back to being careless with your words. Do not leave here tonight and waste this extraordinary instrument that sits behind your teeth. Make a decision right now, right here, that from this moment forward, you will treat your ability to communicate as one of the most important skills you will ever develop. Start journaling tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Write down what you learned today. Write down what you felt today. Write down the conversation that mattered, the lesson that landed, the mistake that taught you something valuable. Start building your vault. Start reading one book a month on communication, on leadership, on human psychology, on storytelling, on anything that deepens your understanding of how words work and why they matter. Start practicing. The next conversation you have with your spouse, your child, your colleague, the stranger in the elevator, make it intentional. Choose your words instead of just letting them fall out. Listen before you speak. Understand before you advise. Diagnose before you prescribe. And above all, start giving light. Look for the people around you who are stumbling in the dark and offer them your words, not your judgment, not your criticism. Your words of clarity, encouragement, direction, and truth, because that is the highest use of language. That is the purpose of this gift. Not to impress people, not to win arguments, not to sound intelligent at dinner parties, but to help someone see what they could not see before, to show them the steps, to illuminate the way. Master your words and you will master your life. It is not a theory, it is not a wish, it is a law. Because the life you live will always be a reflection of the words you speak to others and to yourself. Change the words, change the life. It is that simple and that powerful. Now go. Go and speak with purpose. Go and speak with preparation. Go and speak with power. The world is waiting for your voice. Do not keep it waiting any longer.